It's a multi-million-dollar tourist attraction, locked and boarded up on the prairie in central New Mexico.
Tonight, investigative reporter Larry Barker presents a case study of misguided and ill-conceived government waste. Where did state lawmakers go wrong? Here's Larry's report, 40 miles from nowhere.
When you blow it like this with public money on a project that no one's going to go to, it's just a big waste of money.
From the perspective of New Mexico taxpayers, what does that building represent?
A loss, a huge loss.
Who the heck thought it was a good idea to build it where they built it?
We don't know who chose this spot on the prairie for a taxpayer-funded tourist attraction. What we do know is when it was plopped down amidst the creosote and mesquite south of Socorro, it became a case study for misguided and ill-conceived government waste. Welcome to the El Camino Real Heritage Center, a history museum dedicated to the Royal Road of the Interior. Established by Spanish conquistadors, the historic byway extended from Mexico City to north of Santa Fe. The Royal Road was in use for 3 centuries. However, the museum lasted barely a decade. Due to shoddy planning, it had few visitors, meager revenue, expensive maintenance, and inadequate infrastructure. 9 years after it opened, the monument was closed, artifacts packed away, exhibits dismantled, and the gift shop emptied. Today, all there is to show for taxpayers' multi-million-dollar museum is an abandoned building 40 miles from nowhere.
When you look at that building today, what goes through your mind?
What a complete waste of taxpayer dollars.
State legislator Gail Armstrong represents House District 49, which includes the museum site.
What did taxpayers get for the $4 million investment?
Nothing. It just cost them a ton of money. Nothing.
If you had to explain the El Camino Real Heritage Center to taxpayers today, how would you explain this building?
We blew it.
John Garcia is an economic development expert, having served in state cabinet posts under 2 governors.
On paper, this didn't look like a project that should be funded. This is not how government is supposed to work.
To understand how this happened, you need to take a close look at the state legislature and how it spends public money. Now, most legislative appropriations undergo strict checks and balances, including open hearings and debate.
But there are exceptions. In fact, each year, tens of millions of dollars are doled out behind closed doors. It's called capital outlay, a legislative system that allows individual lawmakers to allocate public money for infrastructure projects. Now, under capital outlay, ventures are funded without justification, feasibility studies, planning, hearings, or even debate.
Consider the Oñate Visitor Center in the northern New Mexico village of Alcalde. State lawmakers blindly allocated almost $2 million for a colossal monument and statue honoring notorious Spanish conquistador Juan de Oñate. At the time, no one questioned the extravagant appropriation. However, today, the multi-million-dollar monolith will likely go down in legislative history as an ill-advised waste of taxpayer money. Plagued by poor planning, vandalism, remote location, and a controversial statue, the state-owned facility opened in '93 and closed a few years later.
They built a big facility in northern New Mexico on a road that didn't have a lot of traffic. It was the theory, build it and they will come. However, nobody came.
John Garcia was New Mexico's Secretary of Tourism.
I sold it on behalf of the government for $1 back to the county because we couldn't afford to operate the facility that there was nothing in it.
Since the visitor center was shut down 17 years ago, the building has been leased to a charter school, flea market, yoga studio, and now a chicken feed and macaroni manufacturing operation. And then there's the El Camino Real Museum. Armed with $4 million from the state legislature and the Bureau of Land Management, consultants were hired to find the best place to build the new museum. After studying various locations, they chose a remote spot on the prairie 37 miles south of Socorro.
The expert said, build here and the museum will draw 100,000 visitors a year, bring in $10 million to the region, and create 174 new jobs. At the time, no one raised a red flag about putting a tourist attraction in an out-of-the-way location. It was only after construction was complete that state officials learned the so-called experts were dead wrong. The expensive project was doomed to fail before it even opened its doors.
I don't think there's any good excuse or any rationale for anybody to try to defend a project like this. From the beginning, it should have been scrutinized for its efficacy, its benefit to the public, and none of that was done.
So what do you do with a $4 million deserted building in the middle of nowhere? Well, the museum was closed and then abandoned 8 years ago. Because the Cultural Affairs Department made little effort to secure the empty building, today it is no longer habitable. Time and vandals have taken a toll. Copper wiring has been stolen. There is significant structural damage, mold, a rodent infestation, and no electricity or lights. Most of the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, water, and septic systems are either obsolete or inoperable. Now, Cultural Affairs officials are faced with two options: repair the building at an estimated cost of $3.5 million, or tear it down and restore the site to prairie. Price tag for demolition, $840,000. Ann McCudden heads up New Mexico's Historic Sites Division.
Is an option for the department to simply leave the building, just leave it there?
No, absolutely not, no.
The property is owned by the Museum of New Mexico. Dr. George Goldstein is president of the Board of Regents.
It was an expensive mistake. And now it's up to the Board of Regents to sadly have to make a decision on that historic site, whether to repair it, it's in terrible disrepair, and that's very concerning, or to demolish it. But that's going to become the most important decision we made all this year.
We will certainly learn from this effort, take those mistakes and learn from them. That's about what we can get out of it. There isn't obviously any value to the building.
I think this was a slap in the face to the public, and if we don't learn from this, then we're the fools.
Larry Barker, KRQE, News 13.
The Museum of New Mexico Regents will meet next month to decide whether to repair that empty museum building or tear it down.